In my long and turbulent life, I've often found that for all the monsters that exist in this world and the nightmares we conjure up in our darkest nights, it is neither of them nor the strangers we fear lurking around every corner that pose the greatest threats to our well-being. No. Instead, it is something that has plagued mankind since before we stepped out of our caves to bask in the frightful glow of the sun. We talked about it before we had a language with which to articulate, deft hands to paint on the walls, or weapons to aptly defend ourselves. It is ancient. It is universal. It is watching me as I discuss this. My encounter. My confession. I'm sorry. Let's skip the bullshit and get right into it. It arrived the night I moved in. The property was an upgrade from a dingy one-bedroom flat to a beautiful Victorian home in a sleepy village where everyone knew everyone, and the town had a famous song birthed here in the 18th century that nobody shuts the fuck up about. Yeah, that kind of village. Pleasant, quiet, and above all else, remote. Sounds like the setting for an old-fashioned ghost tale, doesn't it? Like I'm setting the proverbial scene and drawing back the curtain with some ominous music, gently lulling you into a false sense of security. Dulcet piano tones in a minor key, maybe a drone or delicate stringed accompaniment to really make it feel alive. What do you think? Sorry, I'm not trying to ruin the magic here, it's just in my nature to want to convey what happened in the most thematic sensibilities imaginable. But I don't know how to do that with something as ugly as what transpired the past fortnight. Forgive a broken man for knocking on that wall that divides us from time to time, pulling at the cynicism we all share as a way to delay the inevitable.
Shut up and get on with it. They don't care.
The package was delivered by some third-party courier I hadn't heard of. The guy practically hightailed it the moment I opened the door. COVID still has us all spooked, I guess. Beautiful craft paper in one of those Hallmark-type movie boxes. A beautiful crimson red with a black bow. A small tag dangling off the side. The name I write under for podcasts and my agency, with an accompanying message.
Mr. TJ Lee, I hope you accept this housewarming gift. While it may be a new home to you, it is fraught with history and stories that predate even your great-grandparents on their voyage to this beautiful country. To that end, I hope my gift finds you both amused and curious. He will, I hope, be a companion to you for this and many more winters to come. May your secrets and stories soon fill the walls too. Warm regards, your biggest fan.
While it wasn't the first time I'd received gifts from readers, this was the most egregious by far and immediately brought concern to the forefront of my mind. How did they know I'd moved? I never disclose my exact address, and I take some degree of care in where my public information goes after some less than pleasant incidents. Either way, it was late and there was nothing for it now. I took the box in and hoped it wasn't a bloody nanny cam. When unwrapping it as delicately as my clumsy hands could muster, I was greeted with a plush doll. He was around the size of a Cabbage Patch Kid. Black fur all over with patches of tattooed skin on the forearms, stretched ears, and a black beard. His fur meshed with the white streaks on top and a wide grin that housed a gap in his front teeth. A forked tail curling around the back and 2 hoofed feet stretched out in front of me. It was me. A little devil version of me. Clearly a custom job with a lot of attention, even to things that people didn't know. Scars that littered my right arm and skin burns to my thumbs. It even smelled of me. Unnerved but flattered, I stared at the little thing and searched for a note, hoping there was a bit more information or a way to contact the fan and at least thank them. Maybe even ask some questions about the particulars. In my haste, I knocked him over and a sound rung out.
You're the spookiest writer I know, and I'm your biggest fan.
The voice was tinny, distorted, and a little off, but it was charming in a way. I picked little TJ up and observed him in the light. I didn't want to squander a gift, and though I realize this is entirely unusual for a 29-year-old manly man to admit, I always felt guilty if I didn't hug a stuffed animal when it was in my hands. As if I were neglecting them somehow. My emotional support owl plush, Atticus, still remains at my bedside to this day, and I feel no shame about holding him when the memories get too much. I set him on the bed by Atticus and carried on with my night routine. Deadlines were always approaching, after all. Moving didn't stop the grind of production or the expectations of my colleagues and reader base, and so, grind away I did. This house didn't pay for itself, after all. It was a couple of nights later when things began to escalate. I was hours into editing a script for the mythos. I was a night owl by nature, and having separate rooms to work, sleep, and relax in was a blessing that I took full advantage of. This, of course, meant without distractions, I was working longer and longer, falling into a state of exhaustion that borders on the dangerous. I never was good at knowing when to quit. After a particularly harrowing passage, I knew I had to stop. I could feel my eyes itch from tiredness and my skull throb from the stress. I took off my glasses and pinched my nose, letting my headset drape around my neck for a moment to give my ears some respite.
There's always something pushing you forward, usually with a pointed stick and a shrill laugh in its gullet. But that's why you're the best. Your biggest fan loves you.
I whipped around and looked into my hallway. It was coming from my gaming room across the hall, a soft giggle that crackled through the distortion followed by the prophetic words. Pushing open the door, a bead of sweat rolling down my head, I saw little TJ perched on my armchair like some satanic elf on the shelf. His arms crossed over his lap and green eyes fixated on a spot above the doorframe. I did not leave him down here. How in the... I'd barely slept since moving, maybe 4 hours tops. Hallucinations are common and forgetful behaviors even more so. I must have simply brought him down here when grabbing something else from the bedroom and not realized. Yawning and taking him up with me, I put him on the bedside shelf and facing to the attic window, letting sleep finally take me.
You know that every day you continue to live is just one more where you haven't died? More time to tell stories. Your biggest fan awaits.
Tired eyes protested as I willed them to open, my head throbbing and sending out every indication that I'd barely been asleep long, my hand outstretched across the bed and onto the table. He was staring right at me. I swear, in the trick of the light, his head was peering down, the smile was bigger, and... was that gap in the teeth always that big? It sprung me out of bed and I knocked him over in my shock, dreading the end result as he hit the ground with a thud.
An idea for a story. Care Bears have eyes facing forward, a trait evolved for predators, not prey.
It laughed again, the pitch shifting up and down as if being tuned by a faulty radio. I don't know if it was the laughing or something else, but I swear the thing shuddered as it rang out. But what scared me most wasn't the laughing or the off-brand comment. It was that I had the idea last night and wrote it onto my computer. That was that. Fear and anger wrapped around my anxious body like a vice grip, and I grabbed the little devil and began shaking it, convinced this was either the worst prank ever or an old stalker had found my address. What the fuck are you, hey? A microphone inside you allowing you to hear and reply in real time? Is that it? Some sick fuck's idea of a laugh? Well, we'll just find out, won't we? With the little devil in hand, I ran downstairs to my kitchen and grabbed a carving knife, tearing at the stitching with prejudice and pulling around in the stuffing. I wish I'd found something. Some semblance of human intervention and maybe a creepy ex-girlfriend, psychotic fan, or something tangible to explain away what was going on. Instead, upon finding nothing, the little devil spoke of something that led me to burning it minutes after I'd recomposed myself. What it said isn't for publication. Its words should not be read, twisted, and misinterpreted about myself for all to see. But when it spoke, it didn't use dynamics, pitch shifting, distortion, or any manner of terrifying tropes to pull at my synapses and evoke a shriek. No, it used my own voice. Younger, yes, but unmistakably my own. Words I do not ever recall saying and in a manner I would never phrase, but most certainly, it was my voice. I watched the damn thing burn until there was nothing but scraps of clothing and ash. I put the scraps in a shredder before putting it all in a black bag and tossing it into a dumpster on the other side of town. This is the part where you're undoubtedly expecting the doll to reappear unharmed, to start gaining a life of its own and walking around autonomously, a la Robert the Doll or Annabelle. But this isn't a fucking movie. Things beyond our understanding do not follow the natural order of things. They don't wait for us to be safe before striking again, and they certainly don't save their worst for last.
It would be so much simpler if it was. Believe me, even if you don't.
I self-medicated that night, the only way I could get myself to sleep. Never a good idea to do, and I was proven right when sleep paralysis took hold of me for the umpteenth time this year. Even when you expect it to happen, when you look for the old hag or the demonic force that will try to strangle you until your gasps pull you away from their grip, it doesn't make it any less terrifying. I would struggle in vain, every part of my body willing itself to move and my muscles obstinately refusing. So when a pair of green eyes shone in my room but for a fraction of a second before a terrible creaking spread over my bed frame, coming to stop by my left shoulder, I knew this would be different.
You know the best thing about fear. It makes people do woefully irrational things, especially in the heat of the moment.
Its breath was fetid, the smell of sulfur and ammonia burning my nostrils as hot skin pushed on my shoulder and neck.
They say you should never look a gift horse in the mouth. Some places even have punishments for spurning offerings. So I wonder what they do to you for burning one. A miserable excuse for a man who can barely hold two sentences together on an off day, let alone entire concepts for his fucking job. Pitiful.
He laughed, every part of my skin raising at the mere vocalization. Something slithered into my ear, a crawling sensation as spiked legs found their way into my ear canal. Make it stop. Please.
I was hoping you'd do something rash, let me loose, and give me a chance to stretch my legs. After all, no self-respecting artist can go very far without a little assistance. Some take deals, bribes, or other kinds of incentives, but you, well, you're a caricature of yourself, aren't you? Using every tragedy, every loss, and every pained experience as a way to move forward. A whore for misery, perhaps.
He leaned in, thick, jagged spikes on what I can assume was his face burning against my cheeks.
If you let me in, truly let me in, I will help you create something truly beautiful. All it takes is your consent. But if you resist...
He pulls away, and the room is filled with noises not dissimilar in their erraticism to that of nightmares, rising and falling in noise level, pitch, and structure, a cacophony of violence and pain and sorrow.
I will hurt you. I will make sure you know I hurt you, and I will take everything.
I can hear the fucking grin on his face. I move my eyes from left to right, my only way of resisting. He tuts, and the smell is strong enough to make me vomit, but I'm on my back and I know better.
So be it. This will be your fault.
Within moments, he was gone, and the weight was lifted. I sat up in bed, covered in sweat and breathing heavily. Fuck this. Night terrors were nothing new, and I would not let the product of a bad few nights get to me. The next day was nothing short of a fucking disaster. First was my work laptop corrupting every file I was working on, the process going from 4 hours to 16 grueling hours of editing that left me sleeping on my study floor to make sure it was complete. A deadline missed and a payday gone, the shadow of failure looming over me like a black cloud.
You're letting down good people who put time, money, and resources into you. What kind of fuck-up doesn't back up his files?
The thought rushed into my head, incessant in its judgmental tone, even as I finally see the files off and send profuse apologies to the clients.
They resent you, you know. You're becoming a burden, and they're going to cut you the moment they can. Why would they want someone who can hardly function without going to pieces? Your talent is not even big enough to fail, Theodore. Your talent is not even big enough to fail, Theodore.
I felt my shoulders sag and my body ache. It wasn't wrong, but I had to persist, even if it rattled around in my head like a broken record. The doctor's appointment was a couple of days later. A routine checkup finding something unusual in my body that required further analysis. I won't say what, but it's not the sort of thing one wants to hear when they're young and, for the most part, healthy. The voice, my voice, chimed in when I drove home in silence, my hand reaching for my music playlist, a coping mechanism.
You don't deserve that. If you're going to die, it's because of your own genetic failures, your own shortcomings. You could have stopped this from happening somehow, but you were too lazy. Always too fucking lazy. You better get back to work when you're home. No self-pity. If your time is limited, you can't waste it being a fucking pussy.
It bit at me like a bully shoving you to the ground and laughing at you. But I listened to it, tried to motivate myself to go further, even when the swirling thoughts got overwhelming and I felt a lump in my throat and tears in my eyes.
Do not.
It rang out as I got in the door and collapsed in a heap, hands over my head and shaking as it screamed to stop.
But you know what they say. Bad things come in threes.
My father fell out of bed that night, seizing and unresponsive. For the first time in my life, I was late getting there because of my own exhaustion from the extra work and frankly unnerving few days. I have never felt like more of a failure as a son than when I got there too late to assist the paramedics.
See? Tragedy whore. You just can't fucking help yourself. Disgusting. You're fucking disgusting.
The voice was shrill up until I saw him wheeled out and carted away. Only then did it fall silent. A different voice, an irrational one filled with anger, replaced it, urging me to confront whatever was going on, by any means necessary. I defied everything and drove home at speed, music blasting and a dangerous mixture of heightened emotions in my system. A part of me clinging to the notion it was still just a person, a meticulous, cruel, and clever person with an agenda. I kept my earphones in and hoping that with my music, which has always been a strong coping mechanism of mine, it would keep the horrid voices at bay. But when I pushed open the door to stare at the shadows peeling up my stairs, that feeling subsided. For when I looked up at the foot of the stairs, the lights off in my home and the darkness of winter setting in, I felt the enormity of something foreign and dangerous in my home. The form stretched over the adjacent doorframe. A complex pattern of antlers on its head jutted out and sounded as if they were scraping the walls as it walked out of sight. Everything about it felt wrong, forbidden. I made a dash for the kitchen to try to grab something, anything to defend myself. The same knife I'd used to carve up the little devil made sense. That deep, raspy voice echoed throughout the house and past my music.
You can't resist the dramatic, can you? Music, a weapon, anything to make it bigger than it actually is. This is why you're alone, why your friends always keep their distance, why you can't hold down a partner. Well, the ones that aren't dead. But most of all,
I felt a punch to the stomach that brought me to my knees, head down on the cold floor as something sharp slashed at my arms with intent.
this is why I took your child. You, a father. Never. I told you I'd take everything. I didn't say in what order.
I shuddered. My skin was on fire and my body ached with the weight of everything bearing down on me. Expectations, Impending losses, those that have come already, the pressure of my own failures, the fear of it all being true permeating my very soul as this creature laughed around me. But I had already made my choice before I got into the house. A choice that led me to this, to here, to you. I suppose it likes to play with its food. No fun if I'm dead or too incapacitated to move. It let me get up and wash my cuts with shaking hands, tears in my eyes and the music steadying my grip on the bandages, something I was sadly used to keeping in the house. After going upstairs, I sat myself down and decided there was only one more thing for it: exposure. From the moment my fingers touched the keys and the record button sounded, and I began to tell what happened, the sounds outside my door have grown more frenetic. They started as gentle knocks and words of encouragement, but soon devolved into scratches, kicks, punches, and words of profanity and threats. It can't come in if I don't let it. Not unless I'm asleep. I wish I could sit here and tell you that this is simply an allegory for a tired, broken man's fatiguing mental health being pushed to the brink. That this is a cautionary tale for looking after yourself. I don't know if the little devil someone sent me was real or the product of a diseased mind. There is no grand twist waiting at the end of this. No big revelation that it's something either innocuous or wholly insane. There just is. And that's the scariest part for me. There are no more secrets to unveil and no last-minute Hail Mary saving me. There is but a choice that I need to make. But the truth is, I don't know what lays beyond that door. With its inhuman screeching, crying, laughing, and groaning. All I know is that it exists to cause me harm, and it will not stop until I either give in to it or fight back. So, I choose to expose it. If everyone knows and everyone understands, then where does it hide? If we all have a little devil on our shoulder, the mystique is gone and the power it has lessened. Note that I said lessened, because with every line I write and every closure of a sentence, I feel my hands shake more and more. You are, of course, free to interpret the devil as the literal devil in religion. That is simply an affectation for its true nature. For I knew if I called it by another name, it would not attract as many people. Forgive my deceit. The truth is, I am fucking terrified of what will happen if this doesn't work. If I open that door and the retribution is more than I can bear. I said at the beginning of this that man has been scared of this since before we emerged from our caves, and I meant it. Until we give it a name and a way to recognize it. Beyond superlatives, beyond affectations, beyond simple allegories. We will always cower in fear of it. So instead of living with the fear of what may happen, I am going to open that door and fight for what may not. I will fight with everything I fucking have, and either I will bring it under my control, or it will take everything. But either way, I will not live in fear of the unknown for one moment longer. Because after all, it's better to deal with the devil you know than the one you don't. Right? Being scared is a truly humbling thing, isn't it? It's that rush of adrenaline that surges through your body, ignites your bones, and sends electrical signals through the power lines of your brain, begging you to jolt, to run, to shriek. It reminds you that you are alive. We lose that magic of fear as we get older. Mundanity takes its place, and the majority of us become scared less so of monsters in the dark, aliens in the sky, or creatures in the woods. We instead fixate on the fear of bankruptcy, of bad people doing us harm, of failure. Perhaps that's appropriate. We must grow with the times, and while I have no doubt plenty of you hearing this are already flexing your fingers to tell me that you can quite easily be just as scared of taxes as can be the local mascot who you're 99.9% sure is dead inside the suit. But you're missing the point. Did you look up at the stars lately? I mean, really look up at them? The immense Stygian void filled with a basin of bright orbs that twinkle, sparkle, and burn. It's easy to shrug them off as just giant balls of gas with immeasurable power and magnitude, their dying light still bursting through the black canvas of our night sky despite their physical form long since dissipating. A legacy left across time and space that we could never hope to achieve. There's another mundane fear: existentialism. I'll take trolls, thanks. I looked up at the sky on December 19th, 2020. A cold, bitter night where I searched for something to bring me peace where my body could not. Sharp daggers stabbing at my insides, pushing into my organs and making the bile rise up in my throat. Boiling and viscous, pushing past my teeth and spat out onto the ground with a grimace. Vile. Painful. I remember looking up to find comfort, to find substance, to find a humbling sense of my place in this vast universe. Instead, I saw eyes beaming down at me. Innumerable, immeasurable, inconceivable. Some bulging amid the darkness, their size growing with every moment my neck was craned upwards. I see a pair in the corner filled with tears, their pupils dilated and flashing, miniature black holes rotating as the event horizon that is their iris flaring as they take in what they see. Eyes upon eyes upon eyes. So many swirling orbs of magnificent, horrifying and forbidden colors. A litany of differing expressions and sizes that threatened to envelop me if I made a wrong move. All fixated on me. I felt my stomach contract and goosebumps rise on my skin, the feeling of my heart smashing its way from my chest and into my throat, a tingling sensation in my right hand as my fingers involuntarily moved, the eyes snapping to look at it as if it were a marvel, or perhaps a threat. I ran for my home, stayed under the covers and pushed my hands into my closed eyes to manifest a slew of safe colorizations. Something, anything to wash out the forbidden ones creeping through my curtains. I knew if I gazed upon them again, I would go mad. The eyes began following me everywhere. I couldn't tell you how often I noticed them. Sometimes I would be able to go about my day without it being an issue, only for the sickly light to seep through the window and taunt me into coming outside. Other days I would be unable to do anything in its overwhelming presence, some eyes looking remorseful and full of regret. Others looking hungry and ravenous, desperate to push the rest of their terrifying forms through the barrier of night to take me. It was 3 weeks and 2 days later that I started hearing the ringing. The incessant ringing in my ears. Sometimes I feel my skin peeling at the edges as the ringing grows in sound, ferocity, and temperature. Yes, temperature. Hot, burning flashes rip through my chest. The upper right side piercing through my ribcage and pushing up at my skin, trying to get out. I hold my breath and count backwards from 17. Always seems to do the trick. I see spots in my vision and my tongue grows fat in my mouth, but the ringing goes for a time. I feel the pressure in my chest rise, fall, cease, and start over. But eventually it gives way to a beautiful numbness. The stars pulsate in the sky, red and burning in their gaze. I don't know what I did to offend them, but they scream overhead. I nailed my windows shut and put on a white noise machine, but still they scream.
Look at me. Look at us. We glow for you.
Babbling from an incoherent form, I ignore it as I form a blanket fort filled with makeshift beams made from cardboard tombs and ambient lighting. So long as I'm in here, with or without the pain, nothing can hurt me. I will stay here until they grow hoarse with their screaming, until the sickly light stops trying to drown out my comfort light. As long as it takes. until the many hands stretching across the length and breadth of my room dissipate, their grip finding nothing but air, their lengthy nails no longer rending and tearing at my flesh as they try to draw blood, much to the elation of the stars outside. As long as it takes. I will crumble in this blanket fort if it keeps whatever unseen horror lurking outside away from me. As long as it takes. Among the lights grew one gaping maw. It grinned at me in the twilight last Saturday, completely unafraid of its presence and ignored by everyone else. One tooth bore the bodies of the countless dead, their husks twitching and reaching out. Do you see that? I cried, in the middle of a local supermarket and pointing with a shaking digit to the sunset. The clerk cocked their head to the side and frowned. The sky? Yeah, it's nice. Why? I felt the hot rush of embarrassment and indignation crawl up my throat like an eel, but I snapped my teeth shut and kept it barred inside. I took my groceries with an unflinching grin that mirrored the beast in the sky before pulling my hood up and promptly hurrying home. I felt its hot breath on my back and the distorted laugh of 1,000 agonizing voices, having their flesh rendered until the screams then morphed into uproarious and maleficent cackling, as if I would be their target for eventual vengeance. I did not dare ask it myself, or why I was cursed this way, why it sought me as its victim. But I did take a moment to look back and stare at it as I stood upon the threshold of my home, defiant and confused. If I was to greet the sickly light in the hands with a new sensation of mockery, I wanted to make sure I looked at my tormentor. As my gaze met theirs, the moment froze. All things froze. I stood before the enormity of what faced me, and nothing could impede it. The sky blackened. Every surrounding star looked down on me as two magnificent black holes rippled and twisted to form the bulbous pupils which the grand eyes would swirl around. A nebulous smoke formed the hood, and the smile peeled back into a ripple that stretched across the sky.
Come from us.
It bellowed, a guttural howl that rattled my bones as it spoke but also didn't. I could do nothing but stare at it. The feeling of sheer overwhelming power was impossible to fight against. I was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I felt the invisible hands pull up my ankles, blindingly making their way up to my legs and finding the spot in my upper right cavity with which to dig their tendrils into, stabbing deep in my chest, a hot, burning sensation filling my lungs as black bile seeped out from my teeth.
Return to us.
It once again boomed, rattling the skies and every pair of eyes shifting away from it as the nebulous cloak wrapped around it began to glow. First a beautiful magenta with flecks of gold and amber, then pulsing a deep iridescent blue as it finished its second statement. My hearing felt stuffy, and I felt my eyes water. Not from crying, but from something.
All things must end. All things must feed.
My breathing. Why wasn't I breathing? I was no longer blinking either. How long had I been bearing witness to this titan? What is this? I counted back from 17, watching the spots in my vision grow and hoping the creature in the sky would fade as the sun began to set. 10 seconds to go. The stars twinkled and pulsated. Were they always this close? 5 seconds to go. The spots in my vision grow like burn marks in a picture, but still the figure remains and still my fear grows. As I reached the end, I collapsed to the floor in a heap, sobbing and gritting my teeth from the agony ripping through my body. I don't dare look up again, not even as my neighbor comes to help. I don't recall what happened next, only that a local doctor visited, sighed, and prescribed some medication. I didn't take them. That night, for the first time in my life, there were no stars in the sky. No sickly lights. No hands. I didn't realize that until now. I took an hour to collect myself before carrying on anymore. To you, it will feel like no time at all. That's the beauty of this exchange, I suppose. Time doesn't factor in. But in my world, I gave great pause to what had occurred, from the safety of my blanket fort and my stomach in so many knots that an eagle's scalp would give me a badge. What is going on with me? Is any of this even making sense? Is anyone hearing this? Am I just screaming into a void? The sky outside is shrouded in perpetual darkness now. I've checked. It's not a mirage or an illusion, it just is. Nobody else seems to notice but me. The lights grow in number every day, and even with all the waking hours I possess, I can no longer count them. Maybe that's for the best. We were always meant to have limitations. I hear the beeping constantly now. No amount of breath holding assuages it. No gentle mantras or holding my emotional support stuffed animals staves off the many stabbing hands. No amount of safe colors in my head blocks out the forbidden light anymore. I don't know how much longer I will last. I'm tired. I'm so very tired. It took 2 weeks to find the energy and mental fortitude to finish imparting this to you. It is incoherent, and I'm sure it will not be the way I could have been with a clearer mind. That's okay. It's not for everyone. I accept that, and I welcome that if it comes to pass. But nevertheless, it is for you. You who stumbled across this wondering whether the account is as it says it is. You who have a season pass to Sturgeon and cannot wait to visit once more. You who suffer as I suffer. We all walk this road eventually. It's just a matter of when we arrive there. 29 years old and staring down the long road of eternity. Who'd have thought I'd end up here so soon and in such a sorry state? Where did the bright-eyed child sat at their mother's old typewriter, hastily typing out Dragon Ball Z fanfiction go? Where did the angst-ridden teen channeling their feelings into spoken-word poetry in the vein of Hawthorne Heights and My Chemical Romance go? The raw honesty of being 19 and stumbling, falling and crashing into the spotlight with internet horror folklore. Where did they go? All that's left now is a shambling husk of broken bones, atrophied muscles and fractured memories. An old, rambling soul in the body of a once vibrant person who could do so much more. So much more. I won't lie to you all. I'm scared. I have no doubt many are scratching their heads and wondering where this is going. Where I'm going. And what it all means. We build safe zones in our minds to help deal with the inevitability of our end. Rainbow bridges, pearly gates, great wheels of life. I even have a buddy who believes in the skeleton war. I like him. The lights in the sky changed colors recently, you know. The eyes no longer look full of anger or malice, they seem almost welcoming. The iris of everyone is now a magnificent swirl of colors, promises unspoken and love unabated by time and space. It was only when I truly looked that I saw what was hidden behind the eyes, hid behind the beeping, behind the hands. It was a glimpse, nothing more, but it was enough, and much like the constellations that connect the stars, I can no longer see anything else. It was everyone and everything I've ever loved. I don't mean that in a saccharine manner. I mean it literally. Every loved one formed behind those eyes. A welcoming look on their faces, beckoning me to come home. Wherever home may be. I saw family that I barely remembered. Friends who had fallen, lovers who had taken their own road, enemies long gone and rivals standing tall. I saw everyone. Everything. The cloaked figure smiled. The colors were blinding, and the noise was deafening. And then, only then, I understood. Most heartfelt greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlethems. I eagerly welcome you to Sturgeon's most premier station, Escalating Radio, hosted by yours truly, the effervescent, ethereal, and immersive Everett J. Blackwell. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of our other transmissions. We're adding them regularly, and we'd love to have you as part of the Dusklight family by subscribing, hitting the bell of snakes, and you guessed it, more snakes, and leave a comment with stories you'd love for my many-legged runners to find. Now, I want to thank all of our patrons for making this possible. If you want to sign up, it's as little as $1 a month, and you get exclusive content, early access videos and stories, updates, and more. But times are tough, and we will always be grateful for support no matter what form it comes in. Financial, spiritual, corporeal, maniacal, whatever you want. It really helps us out. Dusklight gives thanks to our Purple Crayon Eaters, Creature Creations, Kid Kiriyama, Emma, Aiden, Becky Sinani, Rory Shamba, Camilla Roca, Oliver Yourface, Suds, PV69, Desert Bluffs, Justy Blue, Paul J. DeSena, Darkness Within, Christian Hatting, Calculi Zero, Mothman, Orphan Yuka, Okami-san, Ian Hancocks, Echo Kane, Gail Alstad, Alex, Candyman Gloving, Ashabel, Phi, Max, and Feely Von Karma. Our janitors, Isabel Vladislaus, Mima, Razzie Berry Pie, Ryan Moore, Ressery Cardwell, Brianna Elliott, Darktail, Kenza, Oliver Topolugnatale, Alex Hansen, Allie, and a special shout out to someone joining the crew in Art Nightborn. Art spends his nights taking people around Sturgeon in his yellow cab. I guess Art needed extra money, especially in this economy. DJ Muffin, Shane Lewis, Ducks, Joy Flint Healy, Sabiel Eclipse, Death 31, Heather Cayley, Adrian R., Amy, Arkham Cookie, and Alex Nunez. Our Nightmare Detectives, Kikuhime 1202, Halo Davis, Mama Chewy, Melanie S., and Fox Clifford. Our Void Walkers, Domain S. Silvers, Rat Squash, and Professor Creepypasta. Now, you will meet more of our new Blackwell family members in a future upload, but for now, let me run down the list of who we've got. Our new Blackwell members marching their way into town are Sabrina Blackwell, Biggie Blackwell, Aphrodite Blackwell, Wojciech Blackwell, Olivia Blackwell, and Mike Blackwell. You'll learn more about these fascinating new members of our family in an upload very, very soon. Then, of course, there is Great Uncle Ven Blackwell with his forbidden knowledge, Izzy Blackwell, our resident bug devourer, TJ Blackwell, who seems hell-bent on stealing the spot of our janitor supremo and his purple crayon stash, Delira Blackwell, our new resident physician and provider of pestilence pills and poultry, Adela Blackwell's firebending and illusions and grand waffling, Ethan Blackwell, abyssal fisher and repo lord, Jackal Blackwell, head chef and mystery meat purveyor, Clue Blackwell, the chrysalis of unknowable horrors, Tabitha Blackwell, Void Water Baron and forever frenemy to our last entrant, Papa Kyle Blackwell, from his Tower of Bones, Broth and Spines, preparing the outer gods to recognize his claim alongside his hobo queen and little inheritor of the Bone Throne, who is already 2.5. We love and fear you, Papa. We thank you humbly for your patronage and look to see you bright and early for Dusklight orientation. Purple crayons and existential dread will be provided. And one last time, listeners, close your eyes and breathe with me. Remember, no matter how bad things are, how cruel people can be, and how heavy your shoulders may feel with the weight of the world bearing down on them, Dusklight will always be here to lift the load and provide you with some respite. Drink some hot cocoa with chocolate sprinkles and fat marshmallows. Have all the Christmas candy you can manage, watch a video about liminal spaces and cryptid sightings, and sleep on the cool side of the pillow with the window open and the stars twinkling down on you. Start and end each day with kindness in your heart. You matter, you are loved, and every day is another chance. I'll see you again when the sun sets and dusk enters the station.